Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company who is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Amanda Blackwood for our fourth episode, where we continue to talk about the vulnerabilities a person can experience that can lead into, not always, but it could lead to the aspects of human trafficking, and what are some aspects of vulnerability that we might be able to recognize in a person, help them over those vulnerabilities, such as feeling less about ourselves or having a lower self-esteem and so forth. And it's a very insightful podcast where we're continuing to talk about some things that she overcame in the first 38 years of her life. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain through Amanda?
Amanda spoke on the hashtag issue. You put hashtag lonely, hashtag any word that describes your feelings in a negative way. There are people that are reading your hashtags that don't have the best interests. They could be the ones that are trafficking other people.
You know, Marty, it's interesting. If a person is looking for vulnerabilities in a person, they know what to look for. And it's incumbent on us to, I would use the term, partner with those people who may feel they're lacking something in life and home, whatever it may be. But let's work together, let's share, and let's see if we can't put an end to this human trafficking. It's a great opportunity to learn. Let's listen and learn together. Amanda, it's great to have you back with us. For our listeners who may be listening to you for the first time, you are on for the fifth episode, I believe it is, but we've been discussing the various aspects of human trafficking, and it's from my perspective, kind of a multifaceted opportunity, and I use that word very loosely, to those who want to manipulate or otherwise take advantage of people. You have a lot of experience in this, and our listeners are very interested in knowing how we can very effectively engage with people. And I think we can do this through education and awareness. Amanda, thank you for joining us again. It's great to have you back with us.
Absolutely. Ron and Marty, every time I get to hang out with you guys, it's like hanging out with friends I just haven't seen in a little while.
Thank you. And we feel that very definitely mutually. Let's talk about manipulation, vulnerability. From my perspective, those two seem to go together. What I would like to encourage our listeners to do is engage with those that once they learn what those out there like to do to manipulate, take advantage of, how can we maybe be aware of, we're not looking for per se, but be aware of, and then how can we very effectively engage with those to say, you know, you may be easily manipulatable, and I want to help you to avoid being a target of that. Amanda, I think you're a great expert in this. We're just intrigued with learning from you.
Thank you. So one of the big things to watch out for, especially if you're using social media, is particular social media hashtags. So we all use these hashtags these days under our posts. I rarely ever do, which is not a good thing when it comes to social media engagement. But when you're on social media, if you look up the hashtag lonely, you can see all of these thousands, if not millions of people who are using the hashtag lonely. When you post something like this on social media, it leaves you more vulnerable because people see this and they understand that you are craving and looking for attention. And that's how trafficking and manipulation all begins, is they see a weakness, they see a vulnerability in you, and they learn and figure out how to exploit that. So this is something that you want to watch for when it comes to your friends, your family members, your kids, anybody that you personally know who's on the internet, who's using these kinds of sad or lonely or alone hashtags. If you're seeing something like this, something needs to be done, something needs to be said. This is not safe behavior for anybody. And, we've talked about it before, but human trafficking does not just happen to children. People under the age of 18 only make up 1/4 of all victims. That means everybody else in the world of trafficking is an adult. It can be an adult who's putting up a hashtag of lonely, who's in their 30s, that are still making themselves more vulnerable to abuse and trafficking later on. And there's this huge connection between this vulnerability and manipulation. So it's hard sometimes to put ourselves in the shoes of the bad person. But we have to do that if we really want to understand how to start combating this and how to fight back against it. Manipulation is an attempt to gain control of a situation or of another person. So a manipulative person might resort to tactics to get what they want. And you have to learn what those signs are so that you can protect yourself and learn how to help protect others.
I'm going to identify myself as ignorant, but there may be some others listening who are a little bit uncertain. I'm going to suppose hashtag sad, hashtag lonely, anything such as that includes implicitly I am sad, I am lonely, to the person who wants to manipulate and take advantage of you. Is that how they read that?
Absolutely. Honestly, that's how the majority of the world reads it these days. If you use a hashtag, you're not specifically describing what's going on in somebody else's video. You're describing what's going on in your own life, in your own situation.
And we have said it before, but I don't think we can say it too often. The person who may use the hashtag sad, hashtag lonely, any similar words are saying, I'm missing that at home. I'm not getting that from mom, dad, somebody. And the nefarious person, the person who wants to manipulate, who wants to take advantage of you, reads that into it right away because that's what they're looking for. Am I assimilating what you're saying correctly?
Yes, absolutely. And it goes back to something we talked about in the last episode I was on too, where we talked about setting aside time to be able to spend with your children. If these kids aren't getting one-on-one interactions within their own household, they're going to look for those one-on-one interactions somewhere else.
And that can't, I just believe that can't be repeated too many times. If our children, if those who want to trust in us are not getting what they need at home, they're going to find it somewhere. They're going to at least look for it somewhere. And unfortunately, there are people out there who want to take advantage of you, and they will do things that are pretty obviously not healthy. But you were mentioning that it's just some things that are seeming well-meaning. Come on, eat what's on your plate. It's there, and you eat it. And well, what if I don't like it? And so forth. I mean, seeming little things like that can cause some discord in the family. I don't want to try to make something larger than what it is, but is that sometimes some things that just something relatively small that could end up being something larger?
Absolutely. So manipulation exists on a huge spectrum. It can be as simple as a parent trying to talk a kid into eating their broccoli. But it can also be somebody who's trying to talk somebody else into doing something illegal or something that's outside of their moral compass. It could be talking somebody into or coercing them into robbing a bank or committing sex acts or working all day long and not reaping the benefit of their work and having to hand all their money over. The last two instances are examples of what human trafficking tends to look like. Manipulation is a huge part of this entirely crazy, dangerous world of not just human trafficking, but also domestic violence. Manipulation is how an abusive person can get somebody else to stay, even though they recognize that they're being abused.
One thing about, I'm going to use the term financial manipulation, the person, and I don't think it's necessarily a young person, but the person who wants something and says, well, I'm in financial challenges. I would like to have and I want, but I don't have the means to. And, I don't feel like saving $5 a week or, something of that nature. And if a person who wants to take advantage of you, manipulate you, say, I'll tell you what, I know of a way you can have that just about as fast as you want it. Is that just one way to, I'm going to use the term, get into the mind of the person who wants something but can't determine how to legitimately get what they want?
Oh, absolutely. And this is a common tactic that's used by unscrupulous salespeople too. Yeah. We have to learn how to have healthy boundaries and how to spot these red flags and these dangerous signs, or these people are going to continually bombard us with all of these things and manipulate us to walk a path that we weren't prepared to walk down. And manipulation doesn't always have to be bad. It can be pro-social, it can be beneficial to relationships. But if you find that there's some kind of manipulation that's happening that's antisocial or it's harmful to your relationships, harmful to your financial status, harmful to your moral compass, that's a huge red flag. You have to stop and take a step back. Nobody wants to hear the word no. And that's why they're starting to manipulate you. It's because they know that this isn't something that you can do or something that you're willing to do without them coercing you into it.
You seem to be so savvy now, but I'm going to ask you to think back. Was there a time in your life that you were easily manipulated and you've learned from that?
For the first 38 years of my life, yes. I was absolutely a doormat. People could talk me into doing basically anything. I didn't have any kind of healthy boundaries. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And when you grow up in an environment where you're not allowed to say no, you don't know how to say no. And that was basically my life. When I first started learning how to fight back, I had this overwhelming sense of anger because of me finally recognizing that I allowed people to do these things to me and have all of this massive amount of control over my life. I was so angry that if I felt like anybody was trying to manipulate me or talk me into do something that I didn't necessarily want to do, I wouldn't just say no. I would lash out at them. I lost friendships over this because somebody asked me more than once to attend a party I didn't want to go to. But what they didn't realize is that I was starting to finally understand what boundaries were, and I was going to stick to my boundaries. And I felt like if somebody couldn't respect my boundaries after I had already established them, they didn't respect me. And in a lot of ways, I was absolutely right. I was not right to necessarily lash out at them and be so incredibly angry, but those were the kinds of people that I shouldn't have been calling my friends in the first place.
I want to ask you in the context of boundaries and let's just call it home standards or standards wherever it may be. But there may be some people who were raised in an environment or just, this is just the way we do things. Don't you question me, Amanda. Do not question my authority. You don't ask why. You do as I tell you to do, and you move on. Is that the kind of maybe oppressive environment you have maybe come through? And I'm not trying to blame anyone of your past, but I am trying to make parents, grandparents, anyone aware that it is okay, I think, at least to an appropriate degree. Well, why do you want me to do this and so forth? I just want to know. And when you tell me don't question you, that makes me want to shut down.
Absolutely. And this is a huge issue. This was very common in my life. I was raised that way. You do what you're told. You don't ask questions, you just do it. And it left me more vulnerable to other people later on who would use that same tactic to manipulate me into doing things that I didn't want to do and I had no intention of doing without their forcing me to. It became this really horrible cycle of constantly doing what I was told to do because I knew that there would be consequences if I didn't.
Tell our listeners again, but I don't think it can be repeated too often. You were raised in that kind of environment. There are some people who would say, and to some degree, only a small degree, legitimately, that's all I've ever known. And I'm just passing forward my family traditions. And then it may be after a while, after we've developed some confidence, some amount of maturity and so forth, we understand we're not exonerating the person, but we do have a better understanding that's the environment in which you were raised. That's all you knew at the time, but we have to know, we have to have the maturity, we have to have the wisdom to know that that's not what we want to carry forward. There is a point at which we have got to have, I use the word courage, Amanda, you may use a different term, but we've got to stand up and just say, it's going to stop with me. I'm not carrying that forward, whatever that happens to be. It seems to me your life is much characterized that way. You were in an environment for, as you said earlier, 38 years. And that's all you knew. But then you became aware of, and nope, I'm going to stand my ground. We're not going to do that. That's what I'm perceiving Amanda to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember the exact day that I finally learned how to stand up for myself. I had been out to dinner with a man that I had been dating for a couple of months at that point, and he got very angry at me. We were sitting at the table, and he jumped up and lunged at me like he was going to hurt me or hit me. And he said something very rude to me. And just without even thinking about it, the first thing that came out of my mouth was, "How dare you?" And I got up and I walked out of this restaurant, and he chased me and he tried to come after me and tried to convince me to come back to him. There was a time in my life where I would have said, well, maybe I'm just blowing this out of proportion. Maybe I'm being inappropriate. Maybe I should get back into the car with him and let him give me a ride home. Maybe. And I learned very quickly that night, this is not a safe place. This is not a safe person. This is not a safe environment. And I'm going to change this because if I don't change it, nobody's going to do that for me. I'm done with how I have been living my life. This man is a fine example of what it is that I need to get away from. So this is where I draw the line in the sand. My entire life changed because I had that one pivotal moment in a restaurant where people were staring at us. I've never gone back since then. I refuse to allow anybody to have that manipulative behavior, to allow them to lash out at me and then beg me to come back. This is such a common feature within domestic violence, within human trafficking, within any kind of abusive relationship. Friendships I've known that have been like this, it won't happen again. You have to learn to break that cycle. And you can say, this is what I've known my entire life. But if what you've known your entire life is abusive, that's not an excuse to be abusive. You have to learn how to develop beyond the environment that you have been exposed to, or you're no better than the people who did it to you to begin with.
Did he stalk you? Were you concerned about retribution? Did you need like a protective order, anything like that?
I did not get a protective order against him. I almost did, but he did stalk me for a little while. And there was one night, not long after I had moved a roommate in to stay with me. It was a guy, and he was like a protective blanket, I felt. This man showed up at my door, and I took video of him through the peephole, through the window. I got as much as I could to be able to show for a restraining order if he ever showed up again. I had already blocked him from contacting me through any social media, from calling me, from emailing me. The only contact he had was through a friend of mine at the time who had not gotten through to the point of blocking him yet because he hadn't actually done anything to her. So he was reaching out to her, asking where I was and what I was doing. And that's when I realized that this has definitely gone too far. And I was planning on going down and getting a restraining order the next day. Work got in the way. I wasn't able to go and do it, but he never showed up again. That was the last time. I think she told him that I got video of him there and that I was telling people that if anything happened to me in the coming weeks, that this is where they should start looking.
I'm just going to believe there are some listeners who are saying, you're describing a part of my life. You're describing some aspects of me that I've just learned to, I've just accepted. And okay, I'm subject to manipulation. I don't have healthy boundaries that you're discussing, Amanda. Oh my gosh, but I don't have the courage to stand up and do what you did. I just feel that, I'm under the total domination of and so forth. I think what I'm asking you, Amanda, is for the listener who may be thinking that right now, they may not even have the courage to verbalize it. How would you encourage that listener to stand up, do what's right, and don't allow this to happen any further? Establish those firm boundaries.
Definitely a big way is to recognize that manipulative behaviors begin when we are little toddlers. We don't have the words yet to describe how we're feeling or what we're thinking or that we're hungry. So we throw little hissy fits and temper tantrums. This is what manipulative behavior is. Recognize it first for what it is. This is somebody who is acting like a toddler because they're not getting their way. So they're doing what they can to manipulate you into doing what they want you to do. By adulthood, most adults outgrow the manipulative tendencies and they develop more subtle ways of being able to get to their goals. Like they can be assertive, they can set healthy boundaries. But the people who have not figured out how to do that, some of them don't even realize what they're doing. You have to set healthy boundaries for yourself and be assertive for yourself. Because if you don't start to change these behaviors, the manipulation will get worse. They will figure out what all of your buttons are. They will learn how to push all of your buttons. They will absolutely take advantage of you. There are companies, there are organizations out there designed specifically to be able to help people get out of abusive relationships. And they don't have to hit you to be abusive. Somebody blocking your path from leaving a room, somebody screaming and yelling at you, somebody taking away your car keys, somebody forcing you to spend money on something you don't want to, or taking away the money and not allowing you to spend it on any way. These are all forms of abuse. These are forms of manipulation. They're manipulating you down this very narrow path where you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time and there's nothing you can do that feels right. This is manipulation. This is abuse. You need to get the help to get out. And it is not a weakness to ask for help. That's why it's so difficult to do. It is a strength to ask for help.
Well, Ron, I tap him when I have a question. And so he just took my question. But this is true in marriages or marriages or when you're dating someone like you did, where some women just feel like I can't leave because what would I do? And you feel for them because you want them to get to that point where this is done. I'm just done with this type of manipulate. Oh my gosh.
Manipulation.
Yeah, you're going to have to strike that. And you think about children in school where teachers, authorities are trying to tell them they need to change their sex. Isn't that a form of this?
Absolutely. That is manipulation and abuse at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot tell somebody something like that. Oh yeah, you're not normal, so you need to conform because this is what we think you should be. That is absolutely abusive.
Mm-hmm.
Another aspect of abuse, as I see it, is some people like to intimidate you into preying on your vulnerabilities. In other words, I'm going to take your credit card away from you. I'm going to take all of your money away from you. I'm not going to allow you to. And there are any number of things that I'm going to, well, let younger people, I'm going to put you in a timeout, and you're going to be that way for a half day. And that timeout may not be in the presence of anybody. It may be in a dark room or even a closet or something like that. And it seems at times there are some people who say, I mean, they're quite honestly thinking, I want to change your mindset. I want you to think far less of yourself. And it's these kind of things, Amanda, that I don't even want to think can exist. But let's be real, audience. They do exist. And there are some people out there who may not show it in public, but when they're with a vulnerable person one-on-one, they're going to do whatever they have to do to manipulate people. That's my perception of how some people are.
Absolutely. And that form of manipulation absolutely tears somebody down, and it destroys what self-esteem they do have. If they found themselves in those relationships, a lot of times they have issues with their self-esteem and with healthy boundaries to begin with. But this person will peck and peck and peck until they eat it away like the enamel on your teeth, until there's nothing but raw nerve showing. This person is now completely dependent on this other person. They haven't allowed them to have friends. They haven't allowed them to have family. They haven't allowed them to have any money. This person now has nothing of their own, and they can't leave. They feel like they can't leave because they absolutely depend on this person for not just any sense of personal validation, but for money, food, shelter, protection. They think that this is the best option because leaving oftentimes is not the best option for them. And what I mean by that is you can get away from the bad people, but you might be followed and chased for the rest of your life. I've been in that position. I have had restraining orders in the past, and I've had people from another country come over and bang on my neighbor's door because they had my address off by a single number. Just because you get away doesn't mean the abuse ends. It might get worse, and a lot of times it might end your life. You have to take precautions. You have to contact the authorities. It's not an easy road, but that's why these organizations exist, to be able to help people out of violent and abusive relationships.
And I'm going to believe that some people lack the courage to contact authorities because they don't know what the retribution may be. And we've addressed that in other podcasts, but it requires the courage, the stamina. And what I'm leading up to, Amanda, is it's ultimately a question. Don't go alone. I mean, I'm going to make that statement. Don't go alone. Don't isolate. Don't think you're the only person in the world who feels this way. There are others who have, but there are others of us who want to be with you to help you through this. We don't want you to feel that you are the target of a toxic relationship and be in the presence of somebody who wants to totally demoralize you.
Absolutely. And sometimes you have no choice but to go alone when you're looking for the help to get out of the situation. Depends on how much you've been manipulated into breaking all of your relationships off, because that does happen a lot. But that doesn't mean that you have to continue alone once you get there. Once you find the help you need, don't push those people away. They really are there to help. And it's an automatic tendency, because of what we've been through, to push those people away because you have this massive distrust of humanity. But those people work for this organization. They work for these domestic violence shelters specifically because of people like you who want to help. They want to get you out of there. They really are there to help. It doesn't mean you have to be best friends with them. You don't have to tell them everything. Just tell them that you need help. That's a great place to start.
I'm going to ask you, and you don't have to answer. Do you feel safe right now?
I do. I have an incredible husband. My name that I go by is not my legal name, so it's a lot harder for people to find me. My husband is absolutely my support system. I've got this wonderful life now. And I know that since I learned how to speak out, the man that did all those things to me is now more afraid of me than I ever was of him.
Good.
That is great to hear, Amanda. And I'm sorry you have to go with what I'll call a pseudonym. that you have to go under another name, but there are those of us, and I want to encourage everyone who's listening, let's, in our own way, let's band together, meaning even if it's just, and there's no just to it, passing information out. Let's make people aware of what is happening with other people. And some of us think, I couldn't even begin to think that way, but just know there are people out there that do that. They want to prey on people. They want to make you feel you're a much lesser person than who you are. They want to demoralize you. And that's so far outside our values, but those people do exist. Amanda, it's very unfortunate. You've had to experience that. And yes, let's develop healthy boundaries. Let's develop ourselves to be totally trustworthy. Let's establish relationships to where we can be trusted. And I don't want to manipulate you. I don't want to take advantage of you. I just want you to know I want to partner with you, Amanda, and others, such that we can identify those and hopefully correct the mindset of those who have a very nefarious mindset, who want to just do something that is illicit, immoral with you. My heart goes out to you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Ron. You guys are always so amazing. I love spending my time with you, and I love talking about this kind of stuff because I know that not only are you guys listening, which is rare, but you're taking this information and you're doing wonderful things with it. You're educating other people on what they need to do. And it makes my heart feel good to know that there's people out there like you guys.
Well, thank you, Amanda. And for our listeners, I want to encourage you to, one, be informed. Don't deny that there are nefarious people out there who want to manipulate and otherwise have toxic relationships. So as we are more engaged and aware of, let's engage with other people. And while we're not looking for, we don't want to unduly label people, but if we can become, I use the term, appropriately aware that you're exhibiting some tendencies that indicate to me that maybe you have a low self-esteem, you may be vulnerable. Let's engage with that person and establish a connected relationship. Let that person know that you're a safe space with us. I'm not going to use anything against you. I'm not going to talk against you. I want to know you are a safe space with us, and I want to help develop a very healthy self-esteem, confidence with you. And with that, we can help you become the person God created you to be. He does not want you to be manipulated and otherwise be a target of toxic relationships. Amanda, I feel like I can get on a roll, and I'm not intended to be in a soapbox. I just want you to know Marty and I really identify with you. My hope is we can have some other listeners who are saying, I'm all in with this. I want to be educated. I want to be aware, and I will take action. I hope we have listeners who would say, at least mentally, I will do just that.
Absolutely. And if they have any questions, they can reach out to you guys. They can reach out to me. I know that we're going to continue the conversation, and hopefully they're going to continue learning.
Well, Amanda, I want to thank you for this podcast and you're telling your story, because we have a granddaughter that could be manipulated.
The possibility she doesn't have as many friends as we think she could. And we think that there are some aspects of vulnerability. Again, we want to be appropriately aware.
Absolutely. And it's not about how many friends you've got. It's the quality of friends you've got.
And you are right on with that, Amanda. Yeah, we don't necessarily need hundreds, but we need to be surrounded by the right people who want to celebrate us, identify with us, and be genuine friends with us. And Amanda, you represent just that.
I want to tell you that we shared the one link with our daughter so that she could have Angelina listen to it or work on it and know what's not right. So I appreciate, you giving us that information and to our audience.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love you guys. I'll do whatever I can to help.
Amanda, we're going to continue with this to educate our listeners. And with time, I do believe we're going to have a positive impact. I don't think a terribly unrealistic hope. We'll identify those who want to manipulate people, and in time, we can reduce the number of people who otherwise have a nefarious reason to want to take advantage of people. And it's because of people like you who, unfortunately, have experienced, but yet you are taking advantage or an opportunity of your past and advancing others with that. Amanda, thank you so much for your life. We look forward to continuing your journey.
Thank you so much, you guys. I just thank God that he brought you into my life.
Thank you.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life's experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, MARTY, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.